We're also really excited to invite Vivian and have Vivian here. Vivian, can you share us a bit about your story?
Absolutely. My name is Vivian, and when I was 17 years old, I lived in a state that had a parental consent law enacted, which was Wisconsin. At the time, I was a senior in high school, and for the first time actually planning what I would be doing with my future. I grew up poor and on public aid, and I was scared about what my next steps would be even before I became pregnant unexpectedly. I knew that at the time I was finally making choices about what I would be doing after high school. And while I was working and being an adolescent, I also felt that I was mature enough to make decisions around my body, around what my future was going to be. And a child just didn't fit into that picture at the time. For the first time, I was thinking about college and starting that planning late. Most people start planning for college earlier in high school, and I was already a senior. Unfortunately, I had to make some arrangements because of the parental consent law that I lived in a state. I had to figure out what my transportation would look like, whether I would be able to make it to Illinois within a 12-hour time period and back, because I also had to keep this private and hidden from my family, who my parent had previously told me if I ever became pregnant, she would not allow me to terminate the pregnancy. And that really felt real to me, so I didn't feel that I could approach my mother about that issue at the time. I had to figure out how I would be able to pay for the procedure, and all of this took research. It took so much time to navigate through all of the barriers that I was facing. I had to take Greyhound. I was alone and feeling pressured from my partner, my boyfriend at the time, who really wanted me to continue the pregnancy for us to have a life together, but I was at a very different place in that relationship than he was. And between the pressure, between the inability to pay for things on my own and having to travel on my own, it was a very lonely and emotional experience for me. I felt that it was an injustice for me to have to go through all of those processes just because I was 6 months to become a legal adult. And at the time, I survived it, but I don't want us to go back at a time where I would have to, you know, put my life at risk if things changed in this country. I was just so scared and limited in my own personal choices, and that's my story.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Vivian.